Did you, Greg, did you have a favorite from that was sort of released to distribution? You know, maybe it was in a pilot program or something else, but one that was distributed in 2018 for the first time?
Ah,
Anyone jump to your mind?
I would say misdirection,
Misdirection.
only because well, one, it was the first time we released a 16 ounce, a can in that kind of hazy IPA category,
Yeah.
and it used Idaho 7 hops, which I just love that flavor profile, and the whole impetus of creating that style and also Fresh Coast came from a beer that I had when I went out east 3 years ago for my sister's wedding. I'd never really had a hazy beer. They weren't huge back then. And this beer, it had Idaho 7. It was a double IPA from a really small brewery in Maine. And I fell in love with that, bought as many of that style as I could find, and came back to Wisconsin and was really sad when I realized no one made these beers here. So
Yeah.
I didn't drink them again until we made something. So it kind of started our journey into the haze style, the juicy, the low IBUs, but still having a lot of hop profile, which then created Fresh Coast, our what is our number two and will most likely be our number one beer by the end of this year. So then be able to take that back when we went into a kind of our big hoppy program, the first beer had to be Idaho 7 because that's kind of what inspired this whole thing for me. And yeah, and we repeated it this year. It just came out a month or so ago, again for the second time, and I've drank my fair share of that beer. So.
Now you mentioned the Haze Craze.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard a lot of people. Now my wife, she's actually sitting on the floor with headphones on, listening. She loves hazy IPAs, but how long do you think that the haze is going to last? I've heard people say they don't think it's going to last much into this year, but
Yeah,
I hope it doesn't go anywhere because I actually like that much better than almost a traditional IPA anymore. So
right. I see. I think this is where the category IPA just needs to be almost over and broken apart into a million categories. Because
Absolutely
yeah,
agree.
IPAs are the number one selling style of craft beer, but they mean so many things now.
exactly.
The haze is actually, I'm not a huge fan of that, so I'm disappointing myself for saying that combination of words. It's that juiciness that to me,
Yes.
I think that's going to stick around. You can have that juiciness, whether it be clear, whether it be hazy. There's a part where when you're producing it in a certain way, it's going to be hazy, and I think that the elements you can't get those elements in a beer when it is clear because it's just how you manufacture it. But I think it's more that juiciness. I don't see that going away because that's just a flavor preference that people are enjoying. It's low IBUs, letting you just taste so many different things, and it's a nice kind of rebuttal from the let's go for 120, 170, 150 IBUs.
Yeah, exactly.
Just, see how far we can push it. We're pushing it still in a very different level. 4 pounds of hops per barrel, 6 pounds of hops per barrel. How much flavor can we really get in there? And I think that'll probably come back. I don't know that you're going to taste 8 pounds a barrel in beer versus say 6 pounds. So I think we're going to figure that out, and they'll become a little bit. The production may become a little more consistent, but I hope this style doesn't go away because it's delicious. I just hope we can come up with having it called the juicy style, I think is great. We just need to separate from it being in that IPA pale ale category because they're just so different.
Yeah, and one of my favorite, well, it's IPA, I guess again, but more recent ones is the brewed IPAs.
Mm.
That's really one that I've started liking. I've been grabbing whatever I can find. Revolution out of Chicago makes one that
Are they doing? All right.
yeah, that it's pretty regular in our house. So any plans of messing with something like that, even those new styles?
Yeah, come this summer, we're gonna play around with a few of those, and just see kind of what flavor profile we may want to go with. It's again another one of those. I like the idea of it. It lets the malt is so clean, almost non-existent that it really just lets you highlight any other flavor you have in there, which is primarily a good fruity juicy hop. But I think it opens up what beer is to a lot of people. Um, Gives people an opportunity to may not like beer to kind of get into it and find their way. Beer isn't that macro lager that they may have had when they were 17 and never came back. It just means anything now. So yeah, we're gonna dabble and play around with it, and see if we come up with something that we think we may want to try distilling, or if it just becomes a taproom only thing on occasion.